Welcome back. And we're moving into our first conversation for today as we talk about the commemoration of World Breastfeeding Week 2017, the different activities that will be taking place, and most importantly, why new mothers should definitely make a plan to exclusively breastfeed. We have with us on set Nurse Yvette Masaya, who is a nurse at the Carl Hichter Memorial Hospital and a certified lactation counselor. In the middle, we have Dr. Jorge Polanco, who is the non-communicable disease focal point for the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO. And on the end, we have Nurse Pauline Griffith, who's a public health nurse at Matron Roberts Polyclinic. Good morning and welcome, and thank you for being here.
Good morning.
So, breastfeeding. This is definitely a topic I think that a lot of people love to be educated about, because while it seems as simple as it sounds, it can be very challenging for some mothers. I want to talk first though about the benefits of breastfeeding. And I know there has been a continuous campaign over the past couple of years to remind parents why they should seek to exclusively breastfeed. So Dr. Polanco, let's start with that.
Yeah, in reality, that's one of the topics we want to highlight during the week. The benefits of breastfeeding both to the newborn, to the infant, and to the mothers. Yeah. Many times we take for granted that they are informed, and the reality is that every year we have new mothers, and it's a responsibility of, in this case, the Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization to promote information and to educate the public to raise awareness of the impact. In regards to the infant, indeed, there is a huge array of benefits. I will start out with the most practical. A newborn who is exposed to breast milk is better equipped or better prepared to fight infections in the early years of life, especially the first 2 years of life. And by that I mean he or she is better prepared to be able to counteract the infections, and I'm referring to, for example, urinary tract infection, gastrointestinal infections, pneumonias, for example. Some studies in Brazil showed recently that children or infants who were breastfed compared to those who were not breastfed, those who were not breastfed were likely to be hospitalized for pneumonia 17 times more.
Wow.
That says a lot. That is just one example. Of course, we have other benefits on the long term. Also, some studies in Brazil, 43 studies that were put together, a mega analysis of all these studies, showed that in cohorts that were observed and assessed 30 years afterwards, in other words, as adults, when all the other variables were considered, and only breastfeeding was considered as the one to make a difference, they noted that the IQ of all those young adults was higher in those who breastfed compared to those who did not breastfeed. So that's just another example. And we don't have to go so far to Brazil. About 2 years ago, some results were released of another cohort that was done right in Guatemala, our neighboring country. A similar study is a cohort of the late 1960s, and they were assessed again, and when all the other variables were excluded, they noted that breastfeeding also had an impact on the IQ. How they measure it is that they performed better in school, and of course had a higher likelihood of finishing high school and university degrees, better jobs. So then that is just, those are on the long term, but on the short term, those that are remarkable are the capacity for that infant to resist infections.
Yeah. So, and I feel that there's so much education about breastfeeding. And I guess my bias is that I am on this show, so I get to interview people like you often enough. But we still face challenges in getting all new parents to buy into the idea of breastfeeding, and more importantly, exclusive breastfeeding. So let's differentiate first of all. There's giving your baby breast milk, and then there's exclusively breastfeeding. What is the difference, and why is it important to go the route of exclusive breastfeeding? Whoever feels comfortable.
Exclusive breastfeeding means that we will give the baby just breast milk. The baby will be put to the breast and nothing else should come in. No water, no water is on the seed, sugar and water, no formula. And
no gripe water?
No gripe water, no ovol, none of those things should be given. And that baby will get the breast 10 times in 24 hours is the best time, the best time of putting the baby to the breast. And with breast milk, the more the baby go to the breast, the more the breast produces milk. And that is where the exclusive breastfeeding is based.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the things, both of you as nurses, being within the public health setting, you get to interact with the mothers right after delivery and when they go in for their checkups. What are some of the barriers that you find that women are choosing not to exclusively breastfeed?
Because of the majority of our mothers, today's young mothers, one of the main concerns is my breast will sag. My breast will not look good again. And the other complaint is that there is nothing in my breast. Because with breastfeeding, the initial first few days, nothing is pouring out of the breast. It comes by drops, and as the frequency increase, it gets it more. As the days go by, it comes in more quantity. And because of that, most mothers have the feeling that my baby is not getting enough. And that is where the feeling of wanting to give the bottles would come in. But we know as nurses, we try to educate and support them in that what the baby is getting at birth is all the baby needs. We show them examples of the baby's stomach. The baby's stomach is like a marble at birth. And as the days go by, the stomach increases until it becomes the size of an egg. And with the stomach being the size of a marble, the baby don't need anything much. Don't need a bottle of 2 ounces or 3 ounces to be satisfied.
So that's one of the key things that also helps, that the breast will produce as much as the baby needs. Now, from your end, when when the parents take the baby in for their checkups, and you're trying to follow up with care, what are some of the things that you find at the clinic?
Well, some of the mothers will complain that I have to go back to work, so I have to start to introduce the bottle so they could get used to something different. But we explain to them from prenatal care that you pump the breast and you store the milk in the breast in the refrigerator, in the freezer, and then you will have adequate supply of milk for the child for the duration of the 6 months, and that you will feed them with the cup. We will not encourage the bottle nor the artificial nipples any at all. So that is one of the major complaints that I have to get them ready for when I go back to work.
Why don't you recommend for the introduction of the artificial nipple, the nipple on the bottle?
Because sometimes when you give the artificial nipple, the babies have nipple confusion. Remember, the baby has to get this nipple on the mother's breast, prepare for how he or he wants it to get it to suck. While the artificial nipple is right there, ready, prepared, just right there, so the baby will just take it, and they will have confusion. For latch on to happen, the mother has to remember put the baby onto the breast over the areola area. That's a little bit of work as compared to just giving this artificial nipple that is just right there.
Now, both Carl Hirschner Memorial Hospital and Matron Roberts are 2 of the baby-friendly certified institutions in the country, which means you promote breastfeeding exclusively. Dr. Polanco, at one point we had seen our exclusive breastfeeding rates as low as, was it 14%?
14.7 the last weeks.
How are we doing now?
Well, I believe the country is doing good in the sense that it improved. The mix of 2011 reported 14.7% exclusive breastfeeding, and this last one of 2015 that was published last year, there was an increase of 33.2.
Wow.
Which is a little over being doubled. And I believe that reflects the efforts of all public health nurses in all 6 districts, because that's one of their day-to-day priorities, as Nurse Griffith explained, at the level of the primary health care, promoting that to mothers while they are pregnant. So that increase to 33 is motivating. And if efforts still need to continue in the sense that after this last survey of 2015 revealed that after 1 year, a little over 60% were still breastfeeding. In 2011, in 2011 about 62%. This last one, it decreased to about 51%, still breastfeeding after 1 year. So efforts need to continue.
Yeah.
In the sense that breastfeeding is still of much benefit.
Yeah.
Up to 1 year, up to 2 years. So I think it's a priority for the Ministry of Health. It's a priority for us at PAHO and for the Institute of Nutrition, Central America. I must take the opportunity to say that at the level of the Council of Ministers of Health, they have it on their agenda in the Central American sub-region, in their agenda to promote it and to support it. They had a discussion last year whereby they are asking all the ministries of health to begin looking at it from the perspective of putting policies in place that eventually they should lead to some legislative support.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I think that is a very important issue. Currently, maternity leave for mothers is 14 weeks, if I'm right.
Yes,
Yeah.
14 weeks.
And that will also include that some women will be off before they actually deliver the baby. So if you want to exclusively breastfeed until your baby is 6 months, it means that for at least half of that time, you'll have to juggle work and being able to feed your child. So this obviously underscores policy and legislation. What has the conversation been like on that level?
Yes, a very interesting topic also. Over the last 2 years, this has come up, and unfortunately it only comes up for Breastfeeding Week. But last year, for example, there was a forum here in Belize City whereby the private sector was invited, and of course managers of the public sector and of the private sector, whereby the topic was to promote breastfeeding in workplaces. What you said is very true, that once they return to work, the likelihood of them continuing to exclusively breastfeed decreases significantly. So the idea was to encourage the management of workplaces to facilitate that breastfeeding. And a lot of discussion, and everybody supported it. Interesting, the Ministry of Labor was there, and they expressed that they are fully into it and to support in any way that they as government can. The idea is for the management to identify a space that is comfortable for the woman to breastfeed, to facilitate her to be able to extract the milk and have it there stored for when she returns at home. It is a custom already for them to have 1 hour. Is it 1 hour that they have? They can reach 1 hour late to work, or leave 1 hour earlier. So that is being implemented, but still in between there is a need for them to have the comfort to extract their milk, or if the possibility, if the situation allows for them to have their newborn being taken to them, for them to be able to breastfeed. It's not a difficult situation. It just needs that support from management to facilitate that environment. It's not that they would be requesting a new space. Any existing space could be refurbished to facilitate comfort, privacy, etc.
Now, in other parts of the world, these types of policies have been rolled out to facilitate breastfeeding, right?
That is correct.
Is there any country in the region, the Caribbean, Central America, that has moved to that point as yet?
El Salvador and Costa Rica are countries that have laws already.
Okay.
And in their laws, they allow for that, for the private sector to facilitate.
Okay. So we could be the first in the Caribbean if we go that route. But I asked that because I think you spoke about the Ministry of Health across the region being on board with this issue and having prioritized it. Ministers of Health, I should say. And it obviously means that you have to get the buy-in from the private sector. Now, how do you talk to the private sector about the fact that your employee will be required to have a little bit more flex time than others, and and not have it become a discriminating factor. In other words, I can't say I don't want a female employee because when she gets pregnant, I'm going to have 6 months of her in and out.
Well, that's where the sensitization comes in, that public awareness for persons to understand the benefits. It's not just a matter of taking 1 hour or just a matter of personal choice. It's a public health issue. It's of much benefit. Actually, let me share. Right now, the political perspective is that breastfeeding should not only be considered an individual choice, but it should be considered a public health priority. In other words, simply because of all the benefits it has, and I have only mentioned the benefits to the newborn. I have not went into the benefits of the mother, which are very significant. At the level of management, they are either parents, they are fathers or mothers or brothers, or so it should not be difficult to really sensitize them for them to see the immediate direct benefits, significant benefits, both to the mother and to the infant. So once they could see that, I believe it will be very easy for them to facilitate that environment. But if they are not aware of that, then you could expect them some not being that
resistant,
that aggressive in facilitating those environments.
And I think one of the benefits you pointed out very early was that if a child is exclusively breastfed, they're less likely to be very sickly as they get older. So it does mean that mom or dad may not have to request as much time off for a sick child later on or to go to the doctor. So we didn't talk about the benefits to the mother, and since they are the ones who need the most convincing, what can we say to moms about what the benefits are to spend the first 6 months of their baby's life ensuring that they're fed only breast milk? Whichever one.
Some of the benefits that we will outline to the mothers, that it promotes mother to baby bonding. That is the most important aspects. The bonding that you will have with your child once you exclusively breastfeed your child, once you breastfeed your child. Also, we tell the mothers that when you fully breastfeed your baby, or after breastfeeding to your child, it helps the uterus to contract and to go back to its normal state. We also inform them about how it decreases the risk of some of the cancers like ovarian cancer, breast cancer, uterine cancer. We offer those advice to the mothers as well. And it is very cheaper to breastfeed because breast milk is readily available for the child. It is soft, it is light, it is easily digested as compared to the formulas that are made by manufacturers to try to represent or mimic the breast milk.
You don't have to preheat it and wonder if it's too hot.
No, you don't.
It's the right temperature.
Exactly.
You don't have to get up and prepare.
Yeah.
And when you store the breast milk and you decide to offer it to the child, you should not microwave it nor heat it. Just put it in a cup of hot water and let it defrost, and then you could
come to room temperature.
In regards to the breast cancer that Nurse Pauline made reference to, studies have also showed very, very clearly that women who breastfeed compared to those who do not breastfeed, they have the likelihood of them having breast cancer is 25% less. Now that's a big proportion, 25% less. So that's another big benefit. Also, the duration of breastfeeding also is very important. For every child that is breastfed, the woman can reduce her risk of breast cancer by 3.4%. So the more you breastfeed, the total time you breastfeed, whether with one child or with multiple children, you are increasing your likelihood not to have breast cancer.
Yeah, that's definitely a benefit for mom as well. So I think a key point as well that we don't want to miss is the economic benefits, because if you don't have to buy formula and new bottles and nipples, that's one expense you can take off. Maybe put that towards the diapers or the school fund or whatnot, because it is available. But we can't ignore the fact that there are some women who struggle with being able, with all the best intentions, cannot seem to get their baby to want to have to latch on to the breast? And I know, Nurse Messiah, that's why you brought your demos this morning, because a part of it is technique.
Very true. Technique is one of the main problems in having mothers breastfeeding satisfactorily. The thing is, with our babies, the hold is very important for latching on.
Okay.
And most mothers would tend to want to hold this baby head in putting the baby to the breast, and that's a no-no.
Okay.
The baby should be in a lying sideways position, especially with me in a sit, and we call this the side lying position.
So the baby's pretty much straight, just kind of slanted.
Straight, but slanted, side to side, should be belly to belly with me.
Okay.
My hand should not be holding the baby head. I should have the hands at the neck.
Okay.
So that the baby can launch back the head. The breast now, when I'm going to breastfeed, I put my nipples to the nose of the baby. And that will enable the baby to smell, to know that food is here. So without holding the baby head, the nipples at the tip of the nose, the baby will launch back the head and do a gap in opening the mouth wide. When I see my baby opening the mouth wide, I bring down the breast and then put it in the baby mouth. Putting it in like that, the baby will then grab the breast with a wide gap, which will have the whole lips over the areola, and the areola is this dark area, and we want the lips to be covering as much as this area of the breast. Then the nipples will not stay to the front of the palate. The nipples of the breast should go all the way to the back, to the hard palate. And we will then see the lips of the baby flinching, coming out, and that will tell us that our baby have a perfect latch. We will also see the jaw moving up and down. We will not see break in the jaw, which is, will also tell us the baby have a perfect latch. We will hear the swallow. It will be swallow, swallow, suck, swallow, swallow, suck. All that we notice. We even have signs telling us, the baby telling us when I am hungry. And crying should never be one of them. We should never let our baby to cry, because at crying, the latch will not happen properly. So we look for signs, or what we call baby cues, where the first thing we will see, the baby will be lying there, but the eyes will be blinking. That is telling us, I'm starting to get hungry, I want to be fed. The next thing, if we don't feed them then, at that point, we will see them start to move the head. And
They're
then
hunting.
the mouth, it's hunting. The mouth will start to be moving. If I don't feed my baby then, the another sign that will come, the hands start and after that will come the cry.
A lot of parents wait for that time, because I can
cry.
A lot of times we watch women say, oh look, they're hungry because they're sucking their hand.
So
but you don't want to wait that long.
That we should not. The best time is when we see the eyes blinking, the head start to move and the eyes is blinking. I am going to feed my baby at that point. I will have a perfect latch when I do it then. If I wait until the baby cry, we will have problem.
Harder.
The baby will not latch on properly.
Okay. Now, there's a lot of change in what the tradition, well, there's a lot of new information that is available, and this is definitely one of them, recognizing that you don't wait for the cry, you recognize the signs. And another one is feeding on schedule. When it comes to breastfeeding, should you or shouldn't you feed on schedule?
Breastfeeding is feeding on demand. You do not put a time of an hour or 2 hours to a breastfed baby.
Okay.
When you see the sign, that's our schedule for a breastfeeding baby. And why is that? With breastfeeding, the baby do not get as much as we will put 2 or 3 ounces in a bottle. They get less, and they will want to be fed more often. They will want to be fed more than that 2 to 3 hours of putting a time. So we watch for our cues. We feed our baby with our cues, and that's our schedule for breastfeeding. Feeding on demand. Feeding when the baby is telling us, I want to be fed.
And For parents who think that the babies aren't eating enough, I know that's always another one you hear. Oh, I don't have enough milk, they're not getting enough food. What do you say to that?
We will tell them that the baby is getting enough food because you check the amount of diapers the child gives you per day, and also when you come to the clinic, you'll see that the baby is gaining weight. So we'll know that the baby is getting enough feed. And remember, we also emphasize that when the baby was born, the stomach is this small. So thinking that the child needs 3 ounces every 3 hours is not what the child needs.
Yeah.
So we measure by the diapers and the weight gain.
What are some of the other myths and misconceptions you find yourself having to clarify very often?
That my breast is not big enough, so I don't have any milk.
Oh.
Most mothers believe the size of the breast determines the amount of milk they produce.
Okay. Anything from your end?
A lot of our mothers have from grandmothers and aunts and the family on a whole in that they have to drink a lot of water, a lot of juice. As soon as they finish breastfeeding, they have to drink a bottle of water, and that's a no. The more you put the baby to the breast, the more you feed, the more we produce.
Okay. So you don't have to do much work.
You don't have to be drinking.
The more you give it, the more it will come.
You just drink to your normal thirst level.
Yeah.
You don't have to be increasing your fluid intake.
And once again, just breast.
Just breast.
Nothing else.
Nothing else.
No
Until
water.
6 months,
Even when
no
it gets
water.
hot in September and you see the baby looks hot, you say, oh, we need some water.
No,
The
because
unique-
the breast has the components of breast milk. It has water to quench thirst. It has vitamin, minerals. Everything that should be there is in the breast milk. So water is in the breast milk. It's composed of water, so that will quench the baby's thirst as well.
Let me give you the hard one. How about when he or she gets colicky and you need gripe water or something else?
Skin to skin. That's our remedy for that.
Still nothing
Skin
else,
to skin,
just breast,
still
not the
nothing.
rest.
We skin to skin, which will quiet our baby, which will bring out hormones, which will bring out the love or a bonding for that child. Skin to skin help that baby with anything at any time of that child life. From birth, we do skin to skin immediately after that baby is born, which help that mother with breastfeeding, and throughout that mother experience, skin to skin is our gripe water, is our ovol, is our aniseed and water. And after skin to skin, doing the skin to skin for about 10-15 minutes, then we put the baby to the breast. And our breast milk is the answer to the colic.
Okay. Any other myths and misconceptions we can clear up at this time?
Well, another big myth out there is that mothers don't want to eat a lot of food because food that they eat will cause colic, will cause abdominal pain, and I want to make our mothers know there is no food out there that you should not eat when you are breastfeeding.
Okay. Because the body will produce what the child needs. So, Dr. Polanco, you've obviously learned a lot about breastfeeding as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I think it's important. I like when you speak about it from a public health perspective. And it is a great achievement that we have Carl Hirschner and our clinics and other clinics throughout the country that are baby-friendly certified. Because then you have medical professionals who tell you from the very beginning that you should and how to do it. What are some of the initiatives that perhaps are in the pipeline to move us up from now 33% to even more?
Well, of course, the main strategy would be to promote the information, to educate the public at the level of the health facilities. The nurse, the public health nurses will continue to promote it from the prenatal stage.
Yeah.
As Nurse Pauline rightly said, the moment that lady is booked, that education begins, because we know that it will be there will be challenges. So that woman is being prepared. This happens at every health facility.
Yeah.
And of course, at the level of the mobiles that the Ministry of Health has, in every village is visited at regular intervals by public health nurses or rural health nurses. That's one of the items in their agenda.
Yeah.
To promote breastfeeding, to provide information that of the benefits of breastfeeding, to take it up as exclusive breastfeeding up to 6 months. All the public health nurses are aware that those first 6 months, actually the first 2 years of life, are very, very crucial when it comes to nutrition. Breastfeeding being perhaps the leading component, in the sense that a proper nutrition during those first months of life is key and or fundamental, that will determine the health status of that child as an infant or as a young adolescent.
And is there any time that a mother should not breastfeed her child? Any circumstances?
We have special situation where with disease that a mother will not be able to breastfeed.
Okay. But once you're at the hospital, they will advise you what you should and shouldn't do at that time. HIV mothers, for example.
That's our main.
Because if a mother is infected with HIV, she can pass it through her breast
by
milk.
breast milk.
Okay.
And the important thing about that is that because that is one exception, the ministry provides formula for how long?
For 10 months.
For
Okay.
10 months, free of cost.
Okay.
2 cans per week for 10
I
months.
didn't know that.
But we still encourage cup feeding.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. So even if somebody was looking for the economic benefits, you've offset that cost by providing the formula for HIV positive mothers. All right. Now, how are we celebrating Breastfeeding Week in Belize? There's a big fair, I am told, on
fairs.
Friday. Yes. So there's the first one on Friday.
Friday.
Yes, it will be held in San Narciso Village in the Corozal district. The idea is all the neighboring villages have been invited to participate. You'll have different organizations there promoting breastfeeding. Carl Hushner, for example, Nurse Mosiah will be there along with her team, providing information, education, and then we have other organizations that also promote breastfeeding who will be present. A delegation from Mexico has been invited, and they will also participate to share with us what they do, what strategies they do to increase public awareness. And then, of course, the one in...
And then on Monday, the closing of the breastfeeding week, Carl Hushner will be having their fair in the parking lot, also educating our mothers. We want to base a lot on complementary feed, assisting with expression and storage and transportation of milk for mothers who have to go back to work.
All right, so let's go through the details. Oh, we do have the announcement of the winner. So you had a competition.
Yes.
Tell us about that, Nurse.
There was a competition for the breastfeeding week this year, and we had 3 winners. They picked 3 persons because the aim of the competition was to show the bonding between the mother and the child,
Yes.
the support from the family, and also breastfeeding anytime, anywhere.
That's right. So the mother had to take the picture of them breastfeeding, right? And the child had to be between newborn to 1 year old. All right, so we have the winners. We're going to showcase those. Do we have the pictures ready so we can do our big reveal? Are we starting with third or first? All right, let's get the first photo up and they'll tell us who it is. And the first photo is...
Okay.
That's a family feeding moment.
That is the first place winner.
Oh.
This is Miss Griselle Cock. She came in first because she depicted what the ministry was asking for. It depicted mother and child bonding, also the support from her family, which is her son, and breastfeeding anytime, anywhere. So she placed first in the competition.
Congratulations to you. So she won a luxury pampering basket from Cotton Candy Designs, a basket from Santiago Castillo Limited, and a gift certificate for a pampering activity. All right, so do we have this other photo now?
This is Miss Theodora Andrews. She came in second. Her picture depicted the breastfeeding of the twins, the support from her 2 older children, and also the use of the pillow so that you could provide comfort for breastfeeding.
That's one of the positions that you advocate for, right?
That's called the football hole.
That's a
feeding
football
twins.
hole. Oh, twins. Next photo.
And this is Miss Alma Rancharan. She placed third, and her picture depicted the father support, because with the ministry we're trying to encourage fathers to be an active part in breastfeeding, and her picture depicted the father being supportive while she was breastfeeding the child.
All right, fantastic. So our second place mother won $200 and a gift basket from Santiago Castillo Limited. And the third place won $100 and also a gift basket from Santiago Castillo Limited. So there you have it. And you had a number of entries this year?
Yes, we're supposed to have number of entries, but they went straight to Matron.
Yeah. So obviously it shows that the women are willing to promote breastfeeding as well. They do it, and they're taking the photos to share in the participation. I want to say, of course, thank you for you all for stopping in. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about the importance of breastfeeding before we close off?
I just want to mention that we have a team. The team is sustaining breastfeeding together.
Okay.
And I would like mothers out there to know that they are not alone with breastfeeding, that we have a support group. And we have cards with our name, our phone numbers, our numbers that these mothers can call us, and we go out and we assist them with whatever problem they would be facing to enable them to continue with a successful breastfeeding process.
And as it comes to the mothers who deliver, they could always come back to their prenatal clinic and get the support from the nurses there when it comes to breastfeeding.
Okay. And from your end point, Dr. Polanco?
Well, of course, thank you for the opportunity to speak on promoting breastfeeding. The Institute of Nutrition for Central America and Panama and PAHO have this topic as a leading priority, and we are prepared to continue helping the ministry and assisting NGOs or different areas in the public in supporting and promoting breastfeeding, especially considering then that it's not being considered only as an individual choice, but we are considering the public health importance it has and the implications it has. So we are fully on board with it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for stopping in, and we hope that we've dispelled a couple more myths and misconceptions from the public, but most importantly, remind them why this is a good choice for them and their baby. Thank you once again. Once again, those fairs in San Narciso on Friday and in Belize City on Monday. All right. We're going to go ahead now and take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about road safety regulations with the Chief Transport Officer, so stay tuned.